At 7:42 p.m., my phone lit up with a group message labeled Family. Dad had typed, "We think it would be healthier if you stepped back for a while. Megan needs some distance." A second later, Aunt Carol reacted with a thumbs up emoji, like they were approving a meeting agenda instead of cutting me out. Just like that, I was quietly ejected from the family I'd been holding together for years. I stared at the screen while curry rotated inside the microwave, realizing they had just closed a 5-year chapter of my life using punctuation cleaner than their morals. So I typed a single sentence. Understood. I'll step back from the family fund too. I hit send. 5 minutes later, the first call came in. By midnight, half their world had collapsed, and they had no idea why. People often called me the stable one, the dependable daughter, the organized sibling who always knew how to manage crises. For a long time, I took it as praise, but eventually I learned it was just a polite way of saying, "You'll fix everything we break." The truth was, that role began the night everything snapped for the first time. 5 years ago, on a cold evening that smelled like asphalt and fear, Dad called me from a Walgreens parking lot. I could hear rain pounding the roof of his car through the phone, a heavy drumming that swallowed his words. His voice was low and shaking. "Skylar, they won't admit Megan unless she has insurance coverage. She's not going to make it. Please." I was 27, sitting in a cramped apartment with peeling paint, still convinced love meant never turning away. I opened my laptop, logged into the savings account I'd spent years building, and emptied it in minutes. $32,000 disappeared before I had time to breathe. Megan was admitted the next morning. My parents called it grace or fate or divine timing. No one mentioned the person who paid for it. No one said my name. That moment rewired something deep inside me. After Megan came home, every emergency came stamped with my number. Mom's insulin refills, Dad's overdrafted accounts, Megan's therapy bills. I kept assuring myself it was love, that I was helping, that this was what families did. But what began as help became habit, and habit became expectation. One night over lukewarm takeout, Dad casually suggested, "Maybe this should be official. We could set up a family fund. You're good with managing money." I smiled because it sounded responsible, structured, safe. But what I built wasn't a system. It was a leash around my own neck. The Kenyan Family Fund existed under my name, my bank, my responsibility, my stress. I paid everything from essential prescriptions and overdue mortgages to random emergencies like Aunt Carol's cracked dental crown. Every month I logged in, rearranged balances, covered bills, and whispered that it was just temporary. Meanwhile, their lives glided smoothly only because I kept the machinery running. Adrian, my boyfriend, once teased, "You treat your family like clients who ignore invoices." I laughed with him, but later in the shower, I cried quietly into my palms so he wouldn't hear. By year 3, I stopped buying even small things for myself. No new clothes, no trips. I cut streaming services, canceled outings, switched to oatmeal because it was cheap and never spoiled. Anytime I tried to pull away, another crisis would explode, as if the universe punished me for wanting an inch of rest. Then came the retreat request, Megan asking for $3,200 to attend a yoga retreat in Arizona. "It's for my mental health," she said. I waited for someone, anyone, to say no. Instead, Dad responded first. "Mental health matters too." Mom added a heart emoji, approval. Decision made. My silence was treated as agreement. That night, staring at the fund account felt like staring at a stranger. New charges had appeared, purchases I never approved, a patio heater, gas expenses, a line labeled retreat deposit. I took a screenshot. My hand didn't tremble. The next morning, Dad called, pretending confusion. "Hey, Rubes. Sorry, Skylar. Did you see Megan's message? Maybe the fund could at least cover half." As if I were a committee. I answered quietly. "Dad, the fund was meant for emergencies." He chuckled, dismissive. "Mental health is an emergency. Then maybe she should talk to a therapist, not a travel agent." The line went silent. Then came his disappointed sigh, the kind designed to fold me back into childhood guilt. "You've changed, Skylar." I had. A few days later, I received a calendar invitation, family check-in call Thursday 8 p.m. with an insulting smiley face in the subject line. I joined out of habit, still hoping maybe they simply wanted to talk. Within minutes, Megan took over the call. I just feel like Skylar's energy has been so negative lately. It's not just the money, it's her attitude. I sat there frozen, listening. Mom chimed in softly but sharply. Sweetheart, maybe just hear us out. Dad added, we're only saying this because we love you. I forced a smile. I've been listening for years. I paid for all of you to keep talking. Tonight, I'd like to finish one sentence. Silence stretched. Then Dad said it again. Maybe you should take a step back, give everyone space. They delivered it like a practiced line in a staged play. I smiled faintly. Okay, I'll do exactly that. They didn't realize what that meant coming from me. They assumed I would retreat emotionally, maybe send tearful apologies later. Instead, I opened my laptop that night, renamed the fund folder once more, and whispered, "You wanted space. You're about to have more than you can handle." While the city hummed outside my window, I opened the Kenyan ledger. Rows of transactions glowed under the desk lamp. Rent, co-pays, therapy fees, utility bills. 5 years of being their safety net. I stared until the numbers blurred. Then I began shutting everything down. Auto pay switched off. Transfers canceled. Every recurring payment paused. Each click was a slow, precise cut, like severing oxygen tubes one by one. When I finished, I downloaded the final statement and saved it into a new folder titled Kenyan Ledger, Final. The name felt accurate, definitive. 5 years of lifelines reduced to clean columns and proof. When the last toggle turned gray, the silence in my apartment changed shape. Not peace yet, but the stillness before an alarm. I sipped coffee and whispered, "You wanted space, now you're getting distance." At 3:11 a.m., my phone started vibrating. Once, twice, then non-stop until the flashing light painted my ceiling. 12 missed calls, 20, 30, 89 by sunrise. Dad's voicemail came first. The bank flagged everything. "What happened? Are you all right?" Then Mom's voice followed, shaky. "Sweetheart, this wasn't what we meant. I need my medications. Please call." Then Megan's message, sharp with rage. "You're cruel. You knew I needed that payment. You've always been jealous." Jealous of what? Their chaos? Their dependence? I didn't answer. I watched the notifications pile up like snowfall. When the phone finally fell silent, I breathed out slowly. The quiet didn't ache, it vibrated with relief. At 8 a.m., Adrian called. "So, space, huh?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. Apparently, it includes my bank login. He paused. "Want me to come over?" I thought for a moment, then asked, "Didn't your ex, Mara, start working in bank compliance?" He blinked. "Yeah, why?" "No reason," I said. "Just wondering." That moment marked my shift from emotional retreat to strategic movement. By noon, Dad texted, "We can fix this. Just turn the automatic stuff back on." Then Aunt Carol chimed in, "Families need grace." Grace, to them, translated to my money. I closed the laptop and whispered, "Grace doesn't cover overdraft fees." Later, the pharmacy called about a declined card. "Would you like to update the payment method?" the pharmacist asked kindly. "No," I replied. "They'll sort it out." "Are they okay?" she asked, genuine concern in her voice. I smiled. "They will be, eventually." I wasn't angry now. I was documenting, because when people feel entitled to your kindness, the only way to prove you're done is through paperwork. By Sunday night, I stopped counting missed calls. My phone looked like a battlefield, alerts everywhere. Dad's frantic messages flipping between urgent and frustrated, Mom's voicemails dripping guilt, Megan's texts swinging wildly from rage to desperation. Then a new alert appeared. Family Zoom, 7 guests, 2 p.m. The subject line said casual check-in. Casual, right. At 6:59, I sat at my desk wearing a soft black sweater, the same one I wore the day I created the family fund years ago. There was something poetic about that symmetry. My hair was tied back, my voice steady. The Kenyan ledger folder sat open beside my laptop like a quiet witness. I clicked Join Meeting. Faces bloomed across the screen, each one familiar, each one pretending not to be cornered. Mom looked tense, hands clasped so tightly the knuckles widened. Dad paced behind her, jaw set. Megan's eyes were already red, though I doubted from crying. Aunt Carol sat centered in her frame, pearls gleaming, the self-appointed judge of the family court. Cousin Emily, ever the peacemaker, smiled too brightly. Hi everyone, let's all just keep this civil, okay? Of course, I said. I'd hate to interrupt anyone's civility. Dad leaned in. You didn't have to cancel the fund, Skylar. You could have just talked to us. I smiled, calm. I didn't cancel it, Dad. I closed it. It was in my name, my routing number, my liability. Mom's voice trembled. That money was keeping us alive. No, I said softly. I was. Aunt Carol sighed dramatically. Families go through rough patches, dear. You don't just turn off love. I met her eyes. You're right. I turned off autopay. For a second, no one breathed. Megan slammed forward. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching us struggle. You made everything about control. I tilted my head. I made it about accountability. Dad crossed his arms. We trusted you. That was my cue. I reached for the mouse and clicked Share Screen. The spreadsheet filled the display. Rows of color-coded cells, years of payments, dates, and notes. At the top, bold black letters read, Kenyan Ledger XLSX. Mom gasped. What is this? 5 years, I said evenly. Every bill, every copay, every emergency you called love. Lines of data scrolled down like confessions. Rent for Megan's apartment, insulin refills, tires, therapy, mortgage gaps, a dental crown for Aunt Carol. Beside each entry, the totals stacked into one brutal truth. $187,421,000, Emily whispered. Wow. Aunt Carol's smile tightened. Someone loves keeping receipts. I looked straight at her. Someone had to. Otherwise, you'd still call me dramatic instead of accurate. Mom covered her mouth. You tracked all this? I nodded. No one else was keeping score, and I was tired of gaslighting myself. Dad's face went pale. You didn't have to humiliate us. I didn't, I said quietly. I protected us until you made it clear I was the only one who had to. The silence grew so dense it hummed. I clicked to the next tab. Another spreadsheet, smaller, labeled What If. Adrian had helped me build it. The totals showed what I could have saved if I hadn't been their safety net. A modest home, a retirement start, a life. Megan's voice broke through. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said, but it's the only thing you ever came to me for. A flicker of movement caught my eye. Dad's phone lighting up beside him. He was texting, probably trying to coordinate damage control. I scrolled again and pulled up a PDF. Before you decide who's cruel, you might want to see this. The document filled the screen. Kenyan Family Wellness LLC loan application, $80,000. Filed under my name, my social security number, my forged signature. Mom froze. Dad stepped back like the light had burned him. This, I said, tapping the screen, was submitted 2 days after you asked me to take a step back. If I hadn't closed the fund, the bank would have released the money straight into a fake business you co-signed. Aunt Carol swallowed hard. That can't be right. Oh, it's right. Carmen at the bank confirmed it. I called her this morning. Megan's tears stopped instantly. You went to the bank? Of course, fraud tends to get their attention. Dad tried to recover. We were just trying to find a way to help Megan. I looked at him almost gently. No, you were trying to help yourselves. You taught her that rescue was my job, but the job's over. I reached beside me, lifting a neat stack of papers into frame. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Every joint account authorization has been removed, shared cards canceled, utilities separated. I even notified the IRS. Mom's voice rose brittle and small. You wouldn't. I already did. For a beat, no one spoke. I could see at the dawning horror of accountability, the moment a family that ran on dependency realized the faucet had truly shut off. Aunt Carol forced a brittle laugh. You're so dramatic, Skylar. We'll talk when you've cooled down. I smiled faintly. You don't understand. There won't be another conversation. Love without boundaries becomes debt, and I just paid mine in full. I ended share screen. The blank of the Zoom grid glared back, every face trapped in a different shade of denial. Dad's jaw clenched. So what, you want us to beg? No, I said. I want you to learn how to live without draining me. Then I took a breath. slow and calm. You told me to step away. I did. And with one click, I hit Leave Meeting. The screen went black. My reflection appeared. A woman I barely recognized. Not angry, not trembling, just free. I sat there staring at the dark monitor, listening to the hum of my refrigerator. It sounded like applause. Outside, the city glowed, indifferent. Inside, the quiet finally belonged to me. For 5 years, I'd been financing their peace. Tonight, I bought mine. For 2 days after that call, my apartment felt like the eye of a storm. The phone barely stopped buzzing. Dad's messages swung from fury to desperation. Please fix this before we lose the house. Mom's voicemails trembled with guilt. You've gone too far, sweetheart. And Megan's texts came in all caps. You ruined us. I didn't answer any of them. I just let the notifications pile up until the sound became background noise, like rain on a roof I no longer lived under. On the third morning, the buzzing stopped. The silence was thick and strange, but it didn't hurt. It hummed. I went through every account one last time, verifying that all joint authorizations were gone. My name clean. No shared cards, no hidden logins. For the first time in years, my finances looked exactly like my life, mine alone. Then the email came from the bank. Suspicious business loan application. Kenyan Family Wellness LLC, frozen pending investigation. Carmen had kept her promise. The loan had been officially blocked. If I'd hesitated even a day, I would have been $80,000 in debt for a business that didn't exist. That night, Adrian came over with takeout. He didn't ask for details. He just sat beside me and said, "Proud of you." That word, proud, broke something open inside me. It was the first time I'd ever heard it without strings attached. A week later, I got a call from Uncle Ray, the family's black sheep, the one they'd written off years ago. His voice was growly but kind. "I heard what happened," he said. "You're not the first, Skylar, just the first who shut the faucet off." I laughed through tears. "You mean they did this before?" "Not the loan part," he said, "but they bled me dry in the nines. I moved states to survive it. Every generation has one who breaks the pattern. Looks like it's you." When we hung up, I cried for a long time. Not from sadness, but relief. Someone finally understood. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. No buzzing phone, no overdrafts, no guilt. Just quiet, the kind you earn. A year has passed since that night. My life is small now, peacefully so. I rent a modest apartment with creaky floors that sing when I walk barefoot. I cook dinner with Adrian instead of ordering takeout, and when I check my bank app, there are no surprise withdrawals, no panic, just calm numbers that belong to me. Last Christmas, Mom emailed a photo of the family by the tree, gifts unopened, smiles forced. The subject line said, "Family still means something." I didn't reply. Coming home would mean giving them the keys to everything I rebuilt. Now when I scroll back to that group chat, the one with Aunt Carol's little thumbs up, I don't feel anger. I feel proof. Boundaries aren't revenge. They're instructions for how to love me correctly, or not at all. If you've ever had to draw that line, you're not alone. Share your story below.